Each year, the seniors elect one of their classmates to deliver the senior address. And this year they have elected a wonderful young man named Bradford Scobie. Brad has been at the Cambridge School for only 2 years, and yet in this time has really integrated into the school in such a way that he certainly feels like a 4-year senior. Brad is best known, I suppose, on our campus for his co-starring role in our weekly 30-second theater. He has also made quite a name for himself in a wide range of theatrical roles here. In addition, however, I certainly think of Brad as also a serious student, a sympathetic friend of his peers, and a most enthusiastic supporter of the Cambridge School. I'm delighted we've had him here for 2 years. Brad, welcome.
Can you hear me? Wish me luck, everyone, please. Well, my first exposure to loving others, was when I was a 14-year-old boy, and I was a part of a group, the Quaker Young Friends, and they had a lot of workshops and retreats, and they play a lot of games that involved touching and hugging and feeling one another. And to this day, I still have a little bit of trouble with that. And as a 14-year-old boy, it was really pretty out of hand. And there was this one game I remember that I would play that that I'm sure was invented by a hippie with a flawless complexion, because it involved walking around the room with your eyes shut and feeling each other's faces. And when you're an acne-smothered 14-year-old boy like I was, and I still am to a certain extent, you don't want a big crowd of people rubbing your face, let alone once upon a time, there was a special retreat taking place at the Framingham meeting that I attended. It was the theme being massage and getting into your bodies. And although getting into my body and getting to know my body and being in touch with it, it had always been a very awkward stranger with me. And so I had a little worry, but I went to the little gathering nevertheless. And as I arrived, sitting in the grass was a very young, nice, natural-seeming young lady. Her name was Lane, and she was barefoot, and she was wearing a blouse and dress that looked like it had been sewn out of a tapestry, and she had a very tightly pulled-back black braid, and she had a large nose and droopy eyes, and she was chinless, but she seemed like a very nice, natural girl, and I didn't feel the least bit threatened by her, really, and I thought, this is a nice person to welcome me to this little gathering. And so after our usual hugging session, which always gave me the willies, because the Quakers have this problem where they deny dislike for certain people, and usually during these hugging sessions, I would find myself hugging a fine group of people who I didn't much care for. We had this, the theme being getting into your bodies. They talked about how our society has a habit of, people putting down their bodies, and you seem conceited if you don't, if you don't put yourself down a lot and say how ugly you are or whatever this is. And I think that's true. I don't think that's a good thing. And so what they did was they went around the circle, and each person had to say 2 things that they liked about their body. And so people would go around, like one person would say, I like my voice and my hair. And then another person would say, I like my skin and my feet, and that sort of thing. And then it came to Lane, and she goes, I like my breasts. And, and see, no one was particularly shocked or offended or anything. You know, I expected it to come along eventually. And so then later on that evening, we had a massage session, this sort of ex-flower girl, hippie type woman who came in. She had written a book in the past on massage and other spiritual things, and she taught us how to give a proper massage to one another. And even I, the most uptight person in the entire group, managed to get a little relaxed, which was, she must have known something if she was able to calm me down. And so, if I got relaxed, and everybody got relaxed, and some people got a little bit more relaxed than they really should have been allowed to. One of which was Lane, who slid off her tapestry blouse and exposed her breasts to the rest of the group. And people would look at her, and then they turn around really quickly, and they, on the outside they're saying, "I'm liberal, I can take this. I don't know, she's naked, I can accept that, I'm open-minded." But deep down inside, like myself, I knew everybody was deep down inside going, "Oh my God, Lane, please." And if I've offended anybody, I apologize. And so she just sort of, sat there, and she sort of bounced around in the face of Eric, who was a very tall, skinny hippie boy with like John Lennon glasses, and had a large Adam's apple, which began going up and down a great deal. And the Adam's apple resembled, what's the word I'm looking for? It sort of represented the group's feelings about the whole thing, because it was all very nerve-wracking. No one was really enjoying themselves, and I especially had a hard time with it. And I was terrified by Lane's, freedom and everything, and the whole Quaker thing sort of backfired on me, and I developed sort of a touch phobia because of the whole thing. And they tried very hard to make us all nice and relaxed young kids, but it didn't quite cut the mustard with mine. And so I arrived at the Cambridge School with these feelings. But the Quakers are very much into community and everything, and they are very much into community around here. But I didn't feel like I had to run in and start hugging strangers and stuff, and I didn't feel any pressure at all to, I could stay away from the group if I wanted to. I was free to do pretty much what I wanted. And so I started off, I tried to heal my touch phobia here. I thought I'd try and calm myself down. So I started off by, shaking people's hands. It's not much of a start, but, it was a nice, small, simple gesture. It didn't, I didn't feel like it was a big, intense thing. And then I actually started to hug people just out of, affection, not out of obligation. And I didn't feel like when I hugged them, it was a deep spiritual interlocking of our souls. And then and the touch phobia was a little bit out of hand. I would sit next to us, fellow students, and our clothes would be rubbing together, and I'd have this fear that they had this, inner storm of awareness of my, my presence. But I've learned that, that's just sort of silly. And there's no agenda and no games for getting relaxed and that sort of thing. It came very naturally for me. It was a good thing, and I relaxed in other ways as well. People let me alone and let me kind of, I felt, nice and relaxed. I felt very good here, and I felt like I was free to grow in any way I really wanted to. And I think that the Cambridge School sort of rescued me from growing up to be a very phony sort of, I'm a natural type of person. But, and I got relaxed in other ways. The theater frightened me to death, and I'd always sort of wanted to, but it was always such a scary thing going up in front of great crowds of people and performing. And because I did have a little problem in 5th grade in which I sort of, during the Christmas Carol, humiliated myself in front of the entire 5th grade. And I avoided it ever since until last year. And I started off very small. I was very wimpy about it. Someone talked me into it, and which was nice that people would actually like encourage me to do these things. I wasn't totally on my own. People were helping me, and I got small little parts, but then someone dropped out of a part that was slightly larger, and I took that and I played it, and people gave me compliments, and I got a little braver, and I went into bigger stuff, and then I did like an actual production that has a lot of tension, but I managed to enjoy myself even though it was a little tense and a little bit bigger than a smaller little thing. And then like art, I relaxed also. I remember I draw a lot, and before I came here, I restricted myself a lot for some reason. I felt like there was limits that I had to, respect, and I couldn't draw as I wanted to. But like Jeffrey Hayes, he inspired me a great deal. I saw that he just went wild, and I understood that I don't have to give myself these stupid little useless limits, and so I loosened up a little, and academically I relaxed a lot too. I went to public school, and things were very, very conservative and kind of frightening, and I had a habit of really not enjoying myself. And when I came here, I was sort of, it's just a habit. I didn't necessarily really hate the class. I just sort of forced myself to hate it because it was an academic thing. But like Elaine's math class, I remember, it was very relaxed, and I despise math, but she managed to make it a nice, personal, sort of, and sometimes even interesting type of And I noticed how, people look very odd around here a lot, and people can act very odd, and I felt like I was free to look and act any way I pleased, and this was something I never had in public school as well, and also around with the Quaker kids. And so I just want to thank you for, that relaxation as well. And, well, that's basically about it. I just want to thank you, everybody. I got to tell you that the Cambridge School is definitely, like, one of the very best things that ever happened to me in my entire life. And I just,